Part 2, sleep commandments. If you ain't seen the first video, you could go watch that after this one. It don't really matter, but all 10 are very important for your sleep. So the first one today, we starting with food and meal timing. So the first thing that you should know that I mentioned in the last video, you should not be eating at night. That's the rule of thumb. A couple hours, 2-3 hours, whatever you want to say, don't eat before bed. If you're eating right before you go to sleep, you are setting yourself up for failure. I'm not joking. It really is not much else outside of maybe tech usage and loud noise that's going to mess up your sleep like food does. So the first thing I'm going to tell you for this commandment is what you should be eating and when you should be eating it. So in the morning, you always want to have high protein. Unless you're somebody who fasts, a lot of people skip breakfast by habit or because their job makes them do it or whatever. That's okay. It's usually better to have protein though. Protein is the building blocks of your brain, of your body, and getting it first thing in the morning is just crucial, at least for me to feel like myself. I always just wake up hungry anyway. That's how my metabolism works. And that's because I'm aligned with my circadian rhythm and whatnot. So for breakfast, usually high protein. Like you can go really high protein. I have 50 to 60 plus grams of protein for breakfast alone. I know that sounds extreme, but I lift, I hoop, I do a lot of activity. So that's not actually that extreme. And you're supposed to get your body weight in terms of protein. I weigh 190 pounds or so. So I need a lot of protein. I like to get most of it in the morning because I feel strong in the morning after I eat all that protein. So that's the first step of step 1. Step 2 for lunch is ideally when you should keep it somewhat light. They say eat like a king for breakfast, eat like a prince for lunch, right? So for lunch, you typically see people abiding by this. They eat like salads, maybe a grain bowl. You're not going to be eating this king size lunch because then you got to go back to work. You got to go back to school. You got something to do, but now your stomach is all full. You know what I'm saying? So this has to do with sleep. Follow me on this. Once it gets to the evening or nighttime, you are not supposed to be eating like a king. I know dinner time is very rewarding, and especially if you're going out to eat, that's kind of what you want to do. And that's okay from time to time, but especially if you're trying to get to sleep by 10 p.m., if you watch the first video, you know why you should be asleep by 10 p.m., then eating a big meal at night is not a good idea. But we're talking about the kinds of foods you should be eating at night, right? So high protein for breakfast. You want to stay away from carbs and sugar at breakfast time. Lunchtime, you should be having greens, maybe a little bit of grains, something light that's easy to digest. And nighttime, you want to keep it light. And this is when you're going to have your carbs. All right. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what to eat, but I like to eat slow digesting carbs, sweet potatoes, green bananas, maybe some starches like white potatoes and whatnot. I'm not huge on carbs. I sometimes eat corn tortillas as well, like the real handmade home style ones. I'm not huge on carbs. I do like fruits as well. But when I do eat carbs, I eat them after I train. And that's always at night. So the point of eating carbs late at night is because they help you fall asleep. Now, don't confuse this with eating carbs right before you go to bed, and definitely not sugar before you go to bed. If you saw in that first video, sugar is going to cook your sleep. So you want to have your carbs, let's say 6, 7, maybe the latest 8 p.m. if you're going to sleep by 10 p.m. Just use that rule of thumb for whatever your schedule is. But carbs in the morning, not a great idea, even though in America, that's kind of what we do is eat sugary cereals and carbs and all that for breakfast, but it's not good. I think a lot of us know that at this point, but high protein, and you don't want to have your protein at night. As we saw in that first video, high protein, especially red meat, that's hard to digest. If you eat that at night, you're going to be spending your whole night digesting instead of sleeping. All right, so that's the first sleep commandment, and there's several commandments within that commandment, which is sleep timing and what you should be eating. So to reiterate, I suggest 3 meals a day. If you're going to fast, that's great. You can still have 3 meals while fasting. So a breakfast, whether it's as soon as you wake up or a little bit delayed, high protein. Get yourself right early. Lunchtime for your second meal, you could have just a snack. You could keep it real light. Or you could have something like a salad or a grain bowl. Don't OD on it though. Later at night, you can still have a decent sized meal, but don't OD, and definitely don't have it too close to nighttime. And don't have any red meat or anything that's too hard to digest, including sugar, too close to your bedtime. All right, sleep commandment number 2 is movement and stretching. So in the first video, I mentioned a little bit about getting outside, getting some movement early to set your circadian rhythm correctly. This time we're going to talk about the movement you do right before bed. So that movement should not be intense. We could just stop right there. You're going to do some movement, but it's not intense. Whether that's a very light walk, nothing intense, like comically slow walking. All right, especially after a meal to digest your meal. It's a great way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. So obviously you want the rest and digest system to be active so you can go to sleep. You don't want to be going for a run. You want to be doing push-ups, none of that stuff, nothing to get your cardio active. You want to do something light and easy. The best kind of movement for sleep is stretching, whether that's Tai Chi, that sort of like flowy activation of your muscles sort of thing, or just, stretching your hamstrings, one of these, your neck stretch, whatever it is you do to stretch and make your muscles feel good. That's the whole point, is to stretch and make your muscles feel good so you can go to sleep. The science behind it is that it releases oxytocin, a little bit of serotonin. These are the hormones that make you feel good. So if you stretch and you want to feel nice without, just crashing into bed, this is a great way to do it. I like to do couch stretches your hip flexors. Look up couch stretch. A lot of y'all want to do couch stretches. There's a lot of different reasons. You want to activate these core muscles and you want to help fix your posture by doing that. But for me, it helps me relax. My legs are very strong. So when I have my leg days or like really active cardio or sports days, I want to relax them by stretching the hip flexors because that helps me sleep a lot better, whether it's faster or deeper. I definitely recommend these sort of stretches. And I mentioned Tai Chi. You don't have to specifically do that, but Tai Chi involves like slow, flowy movements, but very slow and controlled. That's a great way to just get in a relaxed state of mind. Don't underestimate how helpful it is to do these stretches just to go to sleep. You don't need to have a whole routine specifically, but if you find something that works for you and it's like, oh, this feels good, and then you find yourself kind of like dozing off or your eyes are closed while you're doing the stretching, that means it's working and that means you should go to sleep. Commandment number 3 is vagus nerve activation. This is key for being tranquil and peaceful throughout any time of the day, but especially during nighttime. So your vagus nerve is a nerve that travels from around your chest all the way down through the rest of your body. It's called vagus, like vagabond, V-A-G-A-L is the vagal nerve. So vagabond meaning traveling because it's a nerve that travels all throughout, all right? So your vagus nerve is the nerve that activates that rest and digest mode that I was talking about with stretching. So the stretching is activating that nerve, but you can activate the nerve in other ways right before you go to sleep or anytime throughout the day. And this is very key to be able to just switch that system on of rest and digest, all right? So right now, I can tell you I'm in rest and digest mode because 1, I feel it and I know what that feels like, but 2, because I'm speaking. All right, so when you speak, you're vibrating your chest, right? Like you're using your diaphragm, your vocal cords, and it's vibrating your chest, which activates that vagal nerve. So anything to activate that nerve is going to switch it on and tell the nerve and tell your nervous system, all right, we don't need to be in fight or flight, aka sympathetic nervous system mode. We need to be in rest and digest because this is being activated. So one way you can activate it is humming. If you ever notice when people are in a good mood or they're trying to like pass the time, especially when they feel good, they're humming like, you're vibrating your chest so that nerve is being activated. It's just a really good way to hack your nervous system to be calm. So that's one way to do it is like low tones, like you could do that too. You ever hear in yoga when they say om? There's a lot of different reasons for that, but from a bodily perspective, your vagus nerve is being activated when you make in that tone. And the longer you do it, oh, you hold that for as long as you can, your vagus nerve is firing. So now your nervous system knows to relax. And it works pretty well. Another way you could do that is to sing to yourself. You can stretch like I mentioned. There's other ways to do it that I can't think of right now, but that low humming tone is by far the best way to do that. So I definitely recommend looking into polyvagal theory, which is the nervous system activations that I told you about. That'll help you if you have any type of anxiety, racing thoughts, any type of like PTSD sort of symptoms. It's a very deep field of science that's emerging. A lot of people are looking into it, and it's really dope. It's something that's helped me a lot. And it's helped me, master my sleep, helped me conquer a lot of different psychological things that I thought were all mental based, but a lot of time they living in the body. So look into that, but this will definitely help with your sleep. The next sleep commandment that is a little bit controversial, and it always sounds crazy if somebody don't know about it, and the first time they're hearing about it, they kind of judge what it looks like or what it might feel like. And that's mouth tape. Taping your mouth is not exactly a commandment. It's a little bit of a misnomer. If you sleep with your mouth open, if you ever find yourself mouth breathing while you're awake, or if you snore, then it's a commandment. You want to have your mouth taped or closed at all times. Pretty much at all times, unless you're like gasping, working out of breath, or if you're eating or drinking, there's no reason your mouth should be open. Like you ever see somebody with their mouth open, they're like you look dumb doing that. Respectfully, like I'm not even trying to be funny. Like it does look ridiculous, and it's because it's unhealthy. When you inhaling through your mouth, you're not filtering anything like you would through your nose, right? Like you're just taking in all the toxins from the air. You're activating your sympathetic nervous system when you're inhaling through your mouth. When you inhale through your nose, you create nitric oxide, which is very calming. You create just this stable flow of air. And while you're asleep, you especially want that. You don't want to be breathing through your mouth during sleep. You'll notice that if you're mouth breathing or snoring, your dreams are either very erratic and chaotic or disturbing. You're like running from something, or like something's wrong. And a lot of the time it's because your nervous system, even though it's asleep, is in the sympathetic state. And that has a lot to do with your mouth being open. All right. So although it may seem like snoring and your mouth open means you're sleeping really well and you're relaxed, it's not. It's that you have an airway issue, which we can talk about in a different video. But for the sake of this one, while you're asleep, your body is not getting enough air. So it, instead of breathing through the nose, opens up the mouth to get more air. It's a recipe for disaster for many different reasons. It could be a signal of sleep apnea, which you certainly want to look into if you're seeing this and you know that you sleep with your mouth open, or if you catch yourself snoring, or if anybody has ever told you that, you definitely want to look into it. But mouth tape is a very powerful solution to this. So it's surgical tape, or really any tape that you could find. Surgical tape is more light on the skin, on your lips. You don't want to put duct tape on, because then you're going to have to take it off. You don't want to do that. Surgical tape, they have brands that make specific mouth tape. This isn't something that's so niche anymore. You could look up on TikTok or whatever you watch to see people talking about mouth tape and the different effects. It can change some of your bone structure. It can change some of your airway, your posture. And overall, it's just healthier for your sleep. If you're breathing through your mouth, you may be choking on your own airway, which wakes you up. So there's so many different reasons why mouth taping can be an absolute commandment. Like you don't go one single night without mouth tape if you're trying to get a good night's sleep. For some people, at least for me, and at least for others who have struggled with mouth breathing in the past. So it eventually trains your mouth and, your nervous system to be more at rest, and you eventually might not need the tape. All right, so sometimes I don't use the tape. I fall asleep without it. And I'm like, I wasn't mouth breathing. I could feel that I had the lip seal, they call it. But then eventually I put it back on just in case. All right, so that's a big commandment. If you mouth breathe, if you don't worry about it. All right, the last commandment in this video is light and sunglasses. So y'all might have seen on TikTok or these different influencer platforms where they talk about red light glasses. You might even be seeing people on podcasts wearing them. And the reason they're wearing red light is because blue light is bad for your sleep. We discussed that in the last video. But for the sake of falling asleep, it's also good to just dim the light that's coming into your eyes. And if you have bright lights in your apartment or your house, that's not a good idea because it's going to keep you up. But what the red light does is filters that out. So you can still be up and active, but the harmful light is not coming into your eyes. All right, so the best way to do that is to wear either red light glasses or sunglasses that are polarized that block all that blue light. You specifically want to find one that does that because some of them just have, UV protection or something, but they don't have the blue light specifically. And yes, it might look a little ridiculous walking around with sunglasses. If you know me, you have seen me or heard me talk about wearing sunglasses at night many times. I do it almost every night. The nights that I don't, I notice it. I'm sleepier later in the night. I don't get as tired and I don't sleep as deeply because light is truly the signal that tells you whether or not it's time to sleep. So I would highly recommend you look into red light stuff, especially if you're going to be on your phone. We all do it from time to time, but it's much better to accept that you're going to use your phone late at night when you shouldn't be while wearing sunglasses than to just pretend like the light isn't harmful for you. It is. So there's something you can do about it, which is looking into these red light glasses. I'll give y'all a little insight as to why it's important. So blue light gives your brain the signal to not release melatonin. All right. And red light gives your brain the signal to release melatonin. Melatonin, as you might know, is the sleep hormone. It helps to give you that sleepiness and to help ease you into sleep. And that's tied to your circadian clock as well. Wherever there's light and the circadian clock, it usually aligns with your sleep. All right. So one instructs the other. When it comes to red light and blue light, the best way to think of this is that if you're trying to go to sleep, think of amber lights, red lights, candles. If you're trying to make yourself more awake, blue light, that's the sun. Bright overhead fluorescent lights, screen light, phones and television and whatnot. So they work in polarity. So at night, you don't want to be having all that blue light. During the day, red light might make you feel relaxed and stuff. It's not bad for you, but it's not exactly going to make you feel alert either. All right. So one big reason outside of sleep that melatonin is important that y'all might find interesting is that it's very powerful for skin. It's a hormone that releases at night and it's in ties with collagen, which y'all might know when it comes to skin. But melatonin helps to rebuild skin. It helps to reinforce a lot of the skin barriers. And it just puts together these blocks in your skin while you're asleep. So it's super important. If you want to know, just on the side, some important supplements or amino acids, whatever to look into, is not melatonin. It's glycine, which is an amino acid, an essential acid, and magnesium glycinate, which is another important supplement for sleep, staying asleep. And in turn, it ties with melatonin, and melatonin in turn ties with skin. So that's a little bit off topic, but it's another reason as to why sleep is so important. All right, and one more commandment. I couldn't help myself. This is number 11, but I talked about it a little bit in the last video in terms of warmth and in terms of like cooling yourself down to go to sleep. You need to cool down in order to fall asleep. Your core temperature needs to drop by 2 degrees, right? But specifically for REM sleep, which is dream sleep, if you ever want to go deeper into REM sleep, which has tons of benefits, but if you just want more powerful and potent dreams, you actually want to warm yourself up a lot, whether it's through your covers. Your room can be a little warmer. So let's say you wake up and it's like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning and you have a few more hours to sleep. This is around when your REM sleep is going to kick in. Your REM is toward the end of your night. So you're going to have maybe 2 hours or more of REM sleep if it's like 4 or 5 in the morning. All right. So to really increase and induce that REM sleep depth, you want to warm yourself up. And you'll notice the warmer you are, the deeper and more intricate and rich your REM sleep, aka your dream sleep, will be. So that's another way to kind of hack it. I would not obsess over this. That's why it's just a bonus. Don't be like, setting alarms so that you wake up and you put more covers on to go back to sleep and get more REM. It works like that. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't, especially if you wake up naturally. It's something that you can look into, but I would not advise you doing it just for the sake of that. If you sleep continuously or contiguously, whichever one it is, then just do that and don't wake yourself up. But for better REM sleep, there is a timing when it comes to the temperature. And it makes sense because when we fall asleep, we're dropping in temperature. As we wake up, we're rising in temperature. All right, so it's like a curve. It's like down your temperature minimum at a certain time of night, and then up as you warm up when you're waking up. So to wake up, you also want to be warm. That's why when you're in bed and it's mad cold out, it's like winter time, you don't want to get out of bed because like, nah, I don't want to wake up. But you would realize like the warmer you get, you're more able to warm up, such as in a shower or like moving around or something like that. All right, so that's an important tip. That is the last commandment, the last bonus commandment of these 10 sleep commandments. There are other things that factor into your sleep, but as far as I believe, these 10 commandments that I've told you are the most essential to getting more consistent, deeper sleep, especially when it comes to the stage of deep sleep and REM sleep. You really want to incorporate these 10 or 11 different commandments into your routine for the rest of your life. And eventually they'll start to set in because you'll feel how rewarding they are and it'll reinforce these habits. All right, so I hope that y'all appreciated these tips. I hope that y'all incorporate them. And if you liked it, leave a like, drop a comment, but most importantly, share this with someone who you think needs better sleep or who might benefit from this information. All right, so if you want more sleep stuff, you can check out welcome.downtoearth.red. That's my website. You can find free resources on there. You can find coaching. You can find different ways to build your sleep up. And if you're really willing to take the next step to mastering your sleep, schedule a free consultation with me on there, and we'll be in touch. I would love to help you master your sleep and get to the next level of your life and your health through your sleep. That's what I do best. All right, so appreciate y'all watching this video, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.